Greetings friends and welcome back to Recon by Fire. For today's match, the Imperial Knights are bringing Canis Rex, a Knight Crusader, a Knight Atrapos with the Mysterious Guardian enhancement, a Knight Lancer, a Warglaive, and the Callidus Assassin. Necrons are playing the Obeisance Phalanx detachment and are led by the Silent King. They're also bringing 3 Doomsday Arcs, a squad of Tomb Blades, a Canoptic Reanimator, 2 5-bot squads of Death Marks, a Chronomancer and an Overlord leading a squad of Immortals, a Triarch Praetorian squad, and a squad of Necron warriors. For today's mission, deployment is Crucible of Battle, primary mission is Purge the Foe, and mission rule is Prepared Positions. For pre-game actions, the Tomb Blades will scout forward. Imperial Knights are going first and they draw Cull the Horde and Area Denial as their secondaries for the turn. Start of the movement phase and the Knight Crusader will move on to the northern objective. Knight Atrapos will move on to the center objective and it does succeed its Battle Shock test. Canis Rex will move up the side of the board, and the Lancer will move up its full 14 inches to the center of the board. Callidus Assassin will advance towards the center of the board as well. Warglaive will secure the home objective. Start of the shooting phase, the Lancer will fire its Shock Lance into the warriors. Necrons will use the mission rule to go to ground for free. Lancer will pick up 3 warriors. Atrapos fires both its las cannons into the Reanimator, and unfortunately it succumbs to its wounds. The Knight Crusader dumps its entire arsenal into the warriors, and due to some bad save rolls, it manages to pick up the majority of the squad, leaving only 2 warriors behind. Canis Rex fires at high intensity into the Silent King. He takes down 1 Menhir. That is going to end the turn for the Imperial Knights. They are going to score 5 points for Area Denial, 4 points for earning a kill, and discarding Cull the Horde for a command point. Bottom of round 1 and the Necrons will draw Engage on all fronts and Containment as their secondaries. Reanimation Protocol returns 1 warrior. The Silent King repairs a Menhir and sets his aura to rerolling 1s to hit and wound. The Lancer is the worthy foe, giving all Triarch units a +1 to wound. Start of the movement phase and the warriors will advance to get back behind Obscuring. Tomb Blades will push forward behind the Crusader. Praetorians will move in on Canis Rex and take control of the objective. Chronomancer and company will move towards the center objective. The Silent King will reposition so his aura affects both Doomsday Arcs. Immortals will fire everything into the Atrapos, scoring 2 wounds, bringing it down to 23 remaining. They will go ahead and make a move after shooting. Tomb Blades open up on the Crusader, but unfortunately fail to score a wound. They also get to move after shooting. Praetorians into the Lancer and they manage to score 2 wounds. The Silent King will take his shots into the Lancer, the Knights will reroll a save, and the Lancer falls to 14 wounds remaining. Doomsday Arc fires into the Lancer, bringing it down to 5 wounds remaining. Second Doomsday Arc fires into the same Lancer and brings it to just 1 wound remaining. Moving into charges, and the Praetorians will make their charge into the Lancer. Canis Rex will attempt a heroic thanks to his free stratagem ability, but unfortunately will need an 11 because he cannot charge through a wall and fails it with a 7. Praetorians swing into the Lancer, managing to take him down. Knights will spend 2 command points to fight on death, and he takes 5 of them out with him. That's going to end the turn for the Necrons. They're going to score 2 points for Engage on all fronts, 3 points for Containment, and 4 points for managing to score a kill. Imperial Knights will pick up the Callidus Assassin at the end of the turn. Top of round 2 for the Imperial Knights, and they will draw Recover Assets and Defend Stronghold as their secondaries. They control an objective and control more objectives than their opponent, so they will score 8 points on primary. Canis Rex will move up the board to get a better charge on the Praetorians and line of sight on the Doomsday Arc. Atrapos will move in on the Silent King but keep his tail end on the objective just in case he fails the charge. Knight Crusader figures that he can do everything he needs to while remaining in place and will do so. Warglaive will move forward remaining on the objective to prep for future secondaries as well as baiting a deep strike. In order to avoid getting sniped, the Callidus Assassin will come in a safe spot and able to vex the Praetorians. Knight Crusader is up first and it's going to split fire. Necrons are going to spend 1 command point on Nano Assembly Protocols, giving the Doomsday Arc -1 incoming damage. Avenger Gatling Cannon makes short work of the Tomb Blades. Storm Spear Rocket Pod and Rapid Fire Battle Cannon score 6 wounds on the Doomsday Arc. Both stubbers go into the Immortals, failing to score a wound. Canis Rex will fire into the Silent King, and thanks to a save reroll from the Necrons, he manages to only pick up the 2 Miniers. The Atrapos attempts to finish off the Silent King instead of the Doomsday Arc. I think this is a mistake, but we'll see. And the Silent King survives at 7 wounds remaining. Moving on to charges, and Canis makes his into the Praetorians. The Atrapos will fail its charge into the Silent King, so Canis will pummel the Praetorians into the ground. That is going to end the turn for the Imperial Knights. They'll score 4 points for taking down the Praetorians, and hold on to defend stronghold and recover assets until the end of the next turn. Bottom of round 2 for the Necrons, and they draw Establish Locus, Sabotage, and smash that subscribe button as their secondaries for the turn. They'll spend a command point on Insane Bravery on the warriors on the home objective, so they will score 4 points for holding an objective. Start of the command phase, the warrior squad will regenerate 3 models. Doomsday Arc gets 4 wounds back. Silent King regens a single wound. On to the movement phase, and the Immortals and company are going to make a move on the center objective. Worthy foe for the turn is the Atrapos. The Silent King will make a slight reposition to make sure all Doomsday Arcs are in its reroll aura. Third Doomsday Arc will arrive from strategic reserves. The other 2 did not move, so they will have devastating wounds. First squad of Death Marks will arrive from Deep Strike to score Established Locus. Second squad of Death Marks arrive to score Sabotage. Start of the shooting phase, and the Immortals will fire into the Atrapos. The Overlord will use their free stratagem for Enslaved Artifice, giving them crits on 5s. 20 shots turns into 41 hits and brings the Atrapos down to a whopping 14 wounds remaining. Silent King will fire into the Atrapos. Imperial Knights will spend a command point to rotate Ion Shields. The King still manages to score 3 wounds. Doomsday Arc into the Atrapos. Necrons will reroll the number of shots. Knights will reroll a failed save into a failed save, but thanks to some lucky feel no pains, the Atrapos remains alive at 3. Second Doomsday Arc will split fire, putting its small shots into Canis, scoring 3 wounds. Big Cannon goes into the Armiger and brings it down to only 3 wounds remaining. Final Doomsday Arc shoots everything into the Armiger. It survives, making all of its saves. That's a lucky break for the Knights. Immortals will make their charge into the Atrapos and stay out of range of heroic intervention by Canis. And in a huge play, the Silent King will make a long bomb charge with an 11 on the roll. The Silent King hacks into the Atrapos, and that's going to be enough to finish it off. That's going to end the turn for the Necrons. They're going to score 4 points for establishing Locus behind enemy lines, 4 points for downing the Atrapos, and holding on to Sabotage until the end of the next turn. Imperial Knights will score 3 points for recover assets, 3 points for defending their stronghold, and 4 points for kill more. They will pick up the Callidus Assassin. Top of round 3 for the Imperial Knights, and they will draw Overwhelming Force and Behind Enemy Lines as secondaries for the turn. They already have plans for that 1 command point, so they elect to roll the leadership check for the Warglaive. It will fail and becomes Battle Shock. This will cost them 4 points for holding more, and they will only score 4 for holding. Imperial Knights will then use Canis' discount and the 1 remaining command point for shoulder the burden on Canis Rex. Start of the movement phase, and the Warglaive will do its best to get out of the line of fire as well as taking down the Death Marks. The Crusader won't have a good charge into the Immortals on the center objective, so they elect to remain in place, granting them sustained hits for the rest of the round. Canis Rex will use every inch of his extra movement to get as close to both Doomsday Arcs as possible and potentially dual charge. Callidus Assassin will come down and thread the needle, landing in a position where it's able to hold the objective and Vect the Silent King, but unfortunately unable to Vect the Doomsday Arc. Moving on to shooting, and the bracketed Warglaive will fire into the nearby Death Marks, taking one of them down. Callidus into the Silent King, and it fails to score a wound. Canis Rex will fire everything into the Silent King and fails to even scratch the paint. Knight Crusader will activate next, sending the Avenger gatling cannon into the Death Marks. It is going to be enough to pick up the squad. This will sabotage the sabotage action. The rest of the shots will go into the Immortals. They will go to ground for free thanks to the mission rule, and they only lose 6 models. Necrons will use the reanimation orb now at the end of shooting and return 3 models to the squad. Moving on to charges, and Canis Rex elects to do a solo charge, so he has to roll a 6 instead of an 8 for the dual charge. He unfortunately fails with a 4, and Knights do not have the command points to re-roll it. Canis absolutely whiffed this entire turn. The Warglaive, on the other hand, does make its charge into the death marks. Its sweep proves to be enough to pick up the squad, and it will consolidate back onto the objective. That will end the turn for the Imperial Knights. They'll score 3 points for behind enemy lines, discarding overwhelming force for a command point, and score 4 points on primary for taking down the death marks. Bottom of round 3 for the Necrons, and they have sabotage from last turn and draw defend stronghold. Warriors succeed their leadership check, and they will score 4 points for holding but not holding more. Warriors will resurrect 3 models. 2 immortals return to the ranks. Doomsday Arc heals back up to full, and the Silent King regenerates 1 wound. Worthy foe for the turn is Canis Rex. Start of the movement phase, and the Silent King will move towards the Callidus Assassin. In a really solid play, the Immortals will spread out across the objective while the Overlord and Chronomancer hide behind cover to hit that subscribe button and perform the sabotage. Start of the shooting phase, and the Imperial Knights will rotate ion shields for free on Canis Rex. The Silent King fires into him first and unfortunately fails to score a single wound. Next up is the first Doomsday Arc into Canis Rex, and it rolls absolute fire on its dev wounds, bringing Canis Rex all the way to just 1 wound remaining. Ouch! Doomsday Arc number 2 will rinse and repeat, and this proves to be too much for the hero to handle, and Canis Rex succumbs to his wounds. With 1 Doomsday Arc left to fire, there's no point in putting Sir Hector in the building, and so he figures he will attempt a minor screen on the Silent King. The large cannon will fire into the wounded Warglaive, and 8 mortals proves to be enough to pick it up. The final arc will fire into the Crusader, scoring 4 wounds. In a big brain play, the Silent King will charge only the Callidus Assassin. This will guarantee him getting on the point and leave Sir Hector alive should he draw assassination next turn. Callidus Assassin has fights first and fails to score a single wound, and then the Silent King shall make short work of her. That will end the turn for the Necrons, holding on to defend stronghold and sabotage until the end of the next turn. Both players only took down 2 models apiece, so neither will score kill more. Top of round 4 for the Imperial Knights, and they will draw Cleanse and establish Locust as their secondaries. They hold but do not hold more, so will only score 4 points on primary. The Knight Crusader would like to shoot at the Necron warriors with sustained hits, but if he remains in place, the arcs will clearly pick him up, so he positions himself to try to escape that return fire. Sir Hector unfortunately has to go into the line of fire to score established Locust. The Necrons will obviously fire Overwatch, and the Doomsday Arc manages to pick up the Heroic Knight. Moving on to shooting, and the Knight Crusader will fire absolutely everything it has into the Immortal squad. They will go to ground in response. The Crusader manages to take out the entire Immortal squad and the Chronomancer, but the Overlord remains alive. This will allow it to complete the sabotage action. And that will end the turn for the Imperial Knights. They'll score 2 points for cleansing an objective, discarding established Locust for a command point, and scoring 4 points for taking down the Immortals. Necrons will score 3 points for completing the sabotage, 3 points for successfully defending their stronghold, and 4 points for taking down Sir Hector. Bottom of round 4 for the Necrons, and they will draw no prisoners and storm hostile objective. They'll spend a command point for new orders, turning a storm hostile objective into recover assets. They hold and hold more, so will score 8 points on primary. Reanimation Protocol returns 3 warriors, and the Silent King will heal 2 wounds. On to the movement phase, and the first Doomsday Arc will reposition so it has line of sight on the Crusader. Second Doomsday Arc can't quite get line of sight, so it will advance to stage for next turn. Second Doomsday Arc will have to advance as well, but it will get line of sight for next turn. Overlord will simply position off the wall so it can't be charged. The Silent King will make a slight reposition to guarantee cover for next turn. No shooting or charges from the Necrons this turn, as everything is either out of range or advanced. They will begin to recover assets and discard no prisoners for a command point. The Knights took down both the Immortals and the Chronomancer, scoring them kill more. Top of round 5 for the Imperial Knights, and they draw Assassination and secure No Man's Land. They will risk it for the biscuit and ship Assassination to draw Containment. They hold but do not hold more and will score 4 points on primary. After quite a bit of pre-measuring, the players agree that if the Crusader stays in place, only 2 Doomsday Arcs will have line of sight to it, and so it remains stationary. Moving on to shooting, and the Crusader will fire everything it has into the Doomsday Arc on the objective, performing the recover assets action. Necrons will then burn a command point for nano assembly protocols. After everything is all said and done, both players burned a command point on a command reroll, and it proves to be just enough to keep the Doomsday Arc alive at 1 wound remaining. That is going to end the turn for the Imperial Knights. They failed to score a kill and failed to stop the recover assets, but they do get 2 points for securing no man's land and 3 points for containment. Let's see if that's enough to hold on to victory. Necrons will complete recovering assets for 3 points. Last turn of the game, and the Necrons will draw overwhelming force and extend battle lines, both solid draws. Reanimation protocols heals the Silent King, but not enough to get a Menhir back, and heals the Doomsday Arc, but it remains bracketed. The Silent King will move into firing range. The Wounded Arc will remain in place for dev wounds, and the second will move into line of sight. The Overlord will seize the objective to make sure they have hold more. Final Doomsday Arc will reposition to attempt a 12-inch charge. Going into shooting, and as expected, the Crusader will rotate ion shields in hopes of staying alive. The Necrons pump absolutely everything they can into it. The Crusader manages to live on 2 wounds remaining. We go into charges, and even with a command reroll, the Doomsday Arc fails to make it into the Crusader. And that marks the end of the round for the Necrons. They will score 5 points for extended battle lines and 8 points for holding and holding more, making the final score 65-63 in favor of the Imperial Knights. Wow, what a nail biter. You have to love it when the game comes down to the final dice roll. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far in the video, how about you drop us a sub or maybe share the video with a friend? We really would appreciate it. But until next time, as always, happy gaming.